Yeah, mad. Absolutely mad. It was such a tough battle.
Shanghai, Turn 1, Sunday afternoon. A Ferrari launched around the outside of two silver cars, and for one breathless moment, Lewis Hamilton was leading a Formula One race in red. 477 days, 0 podiums, 26 starts of silence. But here, at the exact track where Ferrari's nightmare reached its lowest point, everything changed.
The Mercedes off.
A little bit disappointed to lose out on the podium, but
I just kept losing the lead.
so we've got to work hard.
So hard out there. Just
Who really won in Shanghai? And what is Mercedes hiding under that bodywork? Because what happened after the checkered flag may matter more than anything that happened during the race. To understand what Shanghai 2026 meant, you need to remember what Shanghai 2025 did. Hamilton arrived at Ferrari as the most decorated driver in Formula One history. 7 championships, over 100 wins. The move to Maranello was supposed to be the fairy tale ending. It became the worst year of his career. The SF25 was built around a driving style Hamilton couldn't crack. The rear end felt alien, the braking points were different, and unlike Mercedes, who reshaped their car around him for a decade, Ferrari expected Hamilton to adapt. He couldn't find it, not in testing, not in the opening races, not even by mid-season. The numbers were brutal. 24 starts, 0 podiums, out-qualified 19-5 by his own teammate, 3 consecutive Q1 eliminations to close the season, fewer championship points than his rookie year at McLaren back in 2007. But that was just the start. Because right here in Shanghai, Ferrari didn't just lose a race, they lost their dignity. Hamilton had won the sprint from pole. For 20 laps, the old Hamilton was back, sharp, aggressive, untouchable. Then, post-race scrutineering tore it all apart. Leclerc's car came in 1 kilogram underweight. Hamilton's rear skid block measured half a millimeter below the legal minimum. Half a millimeter, thinner than a single sheet of paper. Both cars disqualified, the first double disqualification in Ferrari's entire history. 18 constructor points erased overnight. The same technical violation, a plank infringement that had already haunted Hamilton at the 2023 United States Grand Prix when he still wore silver. Same failure, new team, same outcome. Shanghai became the symbol of everything broken. And this is where the story gets dark. The 2026 regulations gave every team a blank sheet of paper. Smaller cars, active aerodynamics, no MGU-H, a complete reset. Mercedes came out swinging. Russell and Antonelli won 2 in Melbourne, a clear warning to every rival garage.
Ferrari finished 3rd and 4th, not in the victory fight, but something was different.
Race pace that outperformed qualifying gaps, strong launches off the line, a car with genuine Sunday fight. Hamilton said catching Mercedes was not impossible. Then the paddock arrived in Shanghai. Kimi Antonelli, 19 years old, took pole position, becoming the youngest pole sitter in Formula One history. Russell 2nd, Hamilton 3rd, Leclerc 4th. When the lights went out, Hamilton produced a start that reminded every person in that paddock exactly who he is.
I actually really enjoyed the race.
it was great fun.
I enjoyed the fights and
Antonelli defended right, Hamilton found space on the left. He swept around the outside of both silver cars through Turn 1 and led the Chinese Grand Prix into Turn 2. The garage erupted. But by lap 4, the straight-line speed gap between Mercedes and Ferrari told the real truth. The energy deployment deficit was the difference between fighting for the win and watching the silver cars disappear. Hamilton had answered one question, but a far more dangerous question was already forming in the paddock. While Hamilton was fighting Leclerc in 15 laps of wheel-to-wheel combat, engineers from rival teams were staring at something they couldn't explain. The Mercedes telemetry didn't add up. The W17 wasn't just fast, it was fast at very specific moments, particularly in Shanghai's final sector. Where every other car ran out of electrical thrust, the Mercedes still had a power reserve that launched it onto the straights with force that didn't seem entirely normal. Analysts ruled out aerodynamics, they ruled out traction advantage. everything pointed to one sensitive element: hybrid energy management. The theory circulating through the paddock was precise. Mercedes may have found a loophole in the ERS regulations, not necessarily illegal at first glance, but an aggressive interpretation that allowed them to concentrate electrical deployment at the exact corner exits preceding long straights. The moment acceleration begins, the moment advantages compound. The FIA didn't wait. Technical delegates entered the Mercedes garage. Full telemetry review, GPS data cross-referenced lap by lap, acoustic engine analysis, a technique used specifically when teams are suspected of generating power beyond what official sensors register. Toto Wolff held direct talks with senior FIA officials shortly after qualifying. When the Federation investigates a car at this level, mid-season, mid-championship, it rarely means nothing. One question floated above the entire paddock.
Meanwhile, the championship picture was shifting beneath everyone's feet. McLaren suffered a double DNS in China. Both Norris and Piastri sidelined by power unit failures. Silent, invisible, gone. Red Bull were in free fall. Verstappen called his car undrivable before retiring on lap 46. 12 points from 2 rounds for the reigning Constructors' champions. The two teams expected to challenge Mercedes collapsed in the same afternoon. And Ferrari? Ferrari stood second in the Constructors' Championship with 67 points. Hamilton, 41 years old, had just outfought a teammate 13 years younger across 15 laps of contact, position swaps, and wheel-to-wheel combat at over 200 kilometers per hour. He called it one of the most enjoyable races he had ever had. Leclerc called it a fun battle. Fred Vasseur admitted he aged 5 years watching it, but privately he knew both drivers still had fire. Then came the podium ceremony. Peter Bonington, Bono, Hamilton's race engineer for over a decade at Mercedes, the voice on the other end for 6 world championships, every pole, every victory, every title. He stood on the constructors' platform collecting the trophy for Antonelli's win. The Mercedes crew reportedly formed a guard of honor as Hamilton walked to the podium. Bono said it felt like getting the band back together for one last song. Toto Wolff said he was rarely overwhelmed, but that was one of those moments. Hamilton's mother Carmen watched from the Ferrari garage, on Mother's Day, at the track where the nightmare began. His team radio said everything. "Fantastic job, guys. Really well done. We have got work to do, but I believe in you. Forza Ferrari." That didn't sound like a man celebrating third place. It sounded like a man who finally believed the worst was behind him. Scenario 1. The FIA finds nothing on Mercedes. Their energy management is ruled legal, and every rival spends the next 3 months trying to copy what Brackley already perfected. Hamilton fights for podiums, never wins. Scenario 2, the FIA finds the loophole. Mercedes are forced to change their system mid-season. The performance gap closes overnight. Ferrari's race pace advantage becomes real. Hamilton doesn't just fight for podiums, he fights for victories, and everything we thought we knew about 2026 gets rewritten. Scenario 3, Red Bull and McLaren recover, the grid tightens, and Ferrari's internal battle between Hamilton and Leclerc, 15 laps of contact and fire in Shanghai, stops being a spectacle and starts being a liability, because the Constructors' Championship has never been won by a team at war with itself. Is Mercedes dominant, or is Mercedes hiding something? Can Hamilton and Leclerc keep racing like that without it costing Ferrari everything? And if the FIA investigation changes the order, who does that crown really belong to? One thing is certain, this season isn't about who is fastest, it's about who survives the politics. So tell me, who's really pulling the strings in Formula One's biggest drama of 2026?